Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you on our milestone episode, right, for this Sunday Synergy virtual webinar. Now, why I said it is a milestone event because today is our 50th edition of the Sunday Synergy webinar, and we are committed to bring right new topics, right, exciting topics for all of you. Now, today also we have a very interesting topic right in hand. And today's topic is how change is changing in the AI era, why traditional change management is no longer enough. Now, before we start getting into the introduction, let me tell you a little bit of story which is very related to all of us. Now, these days, irrespective of our age, irrespective of our profession, we all are accustomed with different type of banking experience. Could be an online banking experience, could be a mobile banking experience. And we also have experienced that maybe in 3 months, 4 months, 6 months period of time, there's a new version of the website coming up. Now that could be for security reason, that could be for upgraded reason, different that we don't know. But we keep getting there's a new version available for you, whether it is for an online banking or a demand banking or a mobile app. Now, initially, what comes to our mind? Why? Why all of a sudden again a new thing is coming? We were pretty comfortable with the previous version because we know where to click, we know what to navigate, we know that what all things we are actually going to do right with those interface, whether to check the balance inquiry, whether to go for our portfolio data, whether to check for our transaction history, right? Everything was in our fingertips. Now all of a sudden that we get to see there is a magic button. And what is that magic button? Right? Would you like to continue with the previous version or would you like to shift to the new version, right? Which is available for you now. And we all are kind of, right, feeling relieved. Wow, that's great, right? I still have my old version to navigate. And we all switch to the previous version. That's our tendency. But all of a sudden, right, we still enjoy, right, that feature for next 15 days, 20 days, 30 days. And we don't know all of a sudden that day will come when that button disappears and we all are now in the soup. Now we know that we don't have a choice but to navigate and see and try to find out, okay, what all things we used to do with the previous version, now we need to do it. Now that's not by my choice, but by compulsion. And that's where the transformation start taking place. And all of a sudden we explore that, okay, this version is much better than the previous version. Why I did not spend enough time, right, to navigate and explore this version before this thing happened. So that little everyday experience actually tells us something very important about our change. Now, we don't necessarily resist better solution. We often resist the discomfort letting go of what is familiar, what we are very comfortable with. And perhaps that's the most interesting part of right our change management. Now, as long as the old way is available, we have a very little motivation to explore the new way till we are right compelled to do so or forced to do so. And that's the fascinating human behavior, and it plays out inside organizations all the time. A new process is introduced, a new technology is deployed, a new CIO has come up with new vision, little discomfort. A new AI tool, right, becomes available. But if the old way of working is still easier, more familiar, and still allowed, guess what? We always tend to go back to the previous one. And AI is making this challenge even more interesting because it is not a deterministic thing. Earlier, also, we have seen a lot of transformation, but that used to last for quite some time. But here, it is changing almost every day. We are seeing new AI capabilities, new tools, new workflows, and new ways of working emerge continuously. And so perhaps the question is no longer simply how do you manage the change? Maybe the bigger question is how do we build organizations that are comfortable with the continuous change? And that's exactly what we are going to explore today. And I'm really delighted and honored to have with us Ranan Bhattacharya. So Ronan brings 25 years of experience leading complex digital and business transformation across intelligent automation, SaaS, cloud migration, and enterprise technology across sectors including energy, retail, public sector, and healthcare. He's currently practice head consulting at Mark Business Transformation and a Prosky certified change practitioner, bringing together the technology, business, and most importantly, the human side of the transformation. Now, before joining to Mark, he had an illustrious career with Shell as a head of intelligent automation and played multiple leadership role in Tesco, Happiest Mind, Infosys, and SunGard. Apart from that, it's also a very common face and a lead speaker in various forum and conferences. So, Ranon, a very, very warm welcome, and it's wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Shivo. And definitely congratulations to you and AI Agile Synergy to reach the 50th episode. It's huge. I am lucky to be part of it on and off. And today talking to you is a real pleasure. And the topic is very close to my heart. So I'll be talking more from my heart than from theory.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now let's talk about a little bit to just set the context, right? A basic thing to begin with. Now, it is often said that the people don't resist change, they resist uncertainty. We actually embrace change when we choose it ourselves. We buy a new phone, adapt a new app, or upgrade our lifestyle, or getting new hairstyles. But on a Monday morning, when our company introduces a new process, right, or AI tool, right, the first reaction is often, why? Why do we need to change? What does this mean for me? What is in it for me? In many ways, AI has implied this uncertainty because it does not change processes, it changes roles, skills, and sometimes even the identities at work. The technology is not always the problem, it is the uncertainty that comes with it. So, my first question, right, to you, Ranon, why do you think change naturally creates uncertainty and that apprehension, even when it promises positive outcome?
No, very true. And you have started by explaining quite a few very key points. And to be honest, uh, change, human being, the way human being is created, the way our brain is tuned, we definitely don't like changes. And primarily that is because change is synonymed with risk in our brain. So we see change always as a question of risk. Say, if you're in an airline, if you are in a flight and somebody says that, and you're sitting in a window side, and somebody comes to you and says that, can you please come to the middle seat? You'll say, no way. Right? But the same thing if it gets changed a little bit and air hostess walks up to you and say that, there is a middle seat available in business class. Would you mind? And 99% chances you will say that I don't mind.
Absolutely
Right? So the thing is like the primary factor of a change becomes is like what I'm going to gain out of it.
true.
So as long as that is clear, the entire statement, conversation, purpose, everything changes. The second part is that always the question of like, can I do it? Say like
Right.
skydiving. The skydiving's entry point and exit points are very clear. Entry point is top of a hillock, and exit point is like you land safely on land. 99.9% cases people land safely. But still, majority of the people don't want to do it because the question is like, can I actually do it? Can I sustain that journey? Because there are so many unknowns. I don't
Absolutely.
like falling from that high. But when people do it, most of the people walk out and say that, wow, it's not that bad.
And it's an amazing experience.
Amazing experience. So can I actually do it? Hits on us also, which hits, there's a bit of mental dilemma goes inside that, why to take that chance? And that is linked to the fact that what if it gets wrong? Because
Correct.
we are all worried about our self-esteem. All of us are worried about like being safe is always more convenient, right?
Right.
That I don't change, I don't gain much, but I don't lose much
Mhm.
as well. And these are the paradigms which are very important. And I'm sure like we'll talk about that in the next half an hour, 45 minutes more in depth. These are the three things which are the biggest hindrance for people in their mind that what actually I'm going to gain it, can I pass through that journey, and what if I get wrong?
Absolutely. Brilliant start. So, Ronan, like for the decades, right? Change management followed a familiar pattern of predictability, right? If we talk about value stream or something, right? Define the current state, define the future state, build a roadmap, train people, and then stabilize the organization. But AI has disrupted that rhythm. Now, by the time employees become comfortable with one capability, now I would like to again go back to your first example. Fantastic, right? You have said that all of a sudden, if I get to know that if the air hostess again comes back, sorry, there is an emergency, right? Would you mind going back to your previous set? Because I need to actually place that person again in the business seat so that he gets a little comfort, right? And these, right, table tennis ball, right? Moving from here to here, here to here, we are not that comfortable. Again, even if I'm given a right window side, right, from that middle seat, right, in the business class, again, people will say, come on, how many times like I need to go for changes? So same thing happens here that AI has disrupted that rhythm. By the time employees become comfortable with one AI capability, another breakthrough has already arrived and with lot more value. I'm not saying that okay, I'm going back to the right economy seat. Okay, I'm given a better seat in the business class, but how many times I'll be shifting? So destination keeps moving, which means the organizations are no longer managing a project, rather they are managing, navigating a constantly evolving landscape. So what has fundamentally changed in the AI era that makes many of these traditional approaches insufficient today? Over to you.
Once again, absolutely valid point, and you already mentioned the word deterministic. So the biggest change what AI has brought into our life is that the changes are no more like starting to ending. So it's
Correct.
no more like a project because it's a more probabilistic world in which we are in. Because even if you use a LLM and ask the same question, you will get answers different time. Even if you look into a little bit of technology side, also the whole framework of the testing is changing because
Correct.
earlier we used to write a fixed 100 test cases to know that like yeah these 100 test cases need to match and then only I'll say that the system is working. But
Correct.
presently nobody can write those 100 test cases because you don't know exactly how those test cases are going to behave at the end, because we want the system to be creative, we want system to be like responding differently in different circumstances. So everything is going towards the probabilistic world, and when that's happening, obviously the change management also has to support that. And
Right.
that's why the change management presently is no longer just a project which is like starting on a day and ending on a day. And that's where we are talking more and more about organization change muscle, because we have to take the examples from the nature. Because if you see nature, nobody tells a dolphin that you need to do change management, nobody tells a penguin that you have to do change management, but
Correct.
see how fast they adapt to the situations, because they are continuously facing climate change
Hmm.
effects. They are continuously seeing changes due to the change in the flora fauna in the nature. So they are continuously adapting without knowing change management, but that's their instinct. And for us, it's very important to get into that world where change is no more a project which is given to you to say that deliver that. Rather, we have to accept the fact that change is going to be like happening again and again, because and that this change is for good. This change is
Correct.
for good because we are all trying to be more productive. We are all trying to kind of save our effort. We are all trying to kind of get more benefit out of what we do. So end of the day, these all initiatives have huge meaning. And
Hmm.
that's like the way we think, and it starts from the leaders, starts from the change managers, because we all, I'm also victim of, rather not victim, I'm the party to that, because we are all 25-year-old generation who is also trying to retrofit our own background into the present context, which is not right, because we have to completely unlearn and try to manage the things in a very different way. And that's why I would say that people's mind have to be tuned, and it's a lot of responsibility for all of us, is to show that change is not one journey which like you just stick in the checkbox and you are done. Change is going to be constant, or continuous in your life now onwards.
Well said. Now, as you rightly said, now this change, transformation, many people are thinking that, okay, it is happening now. No, it's not like that. It has been happening in all fields. And of course, when it comes to IT or maybe any other industry, that digital transformation is a continuous process, as you rightly said. A few years ago, organizations talked about digital transformation as a major initiative. Every organizations you go, right, the leadership is talking about transformation. Now, today, AI updates arrive every few weeks, right? We talked about. Co-pilots evolve almost monthly, and the employees are expected to continuously learn new ways of working, like you said, like change muscle. The question is no longer can we manage this transformation, rather, how do you build, right? Or how do we build an organization that can continuously adapt? Like you said, like flora, fauna, and all those things, right? They are kind of adapting to the ecosystem change because of the climate or because of the many other things. Now, many organizations used to have transformation programs. Today, employees don't even call it as a transformation anymore. Rather, it is simply the work that is in our DNA, that is there in their daily life routine, because they are now expecting the change and they cannot just right stick to one particular capability. One month they are learning Microsoft Copilot, the next month they're experimenting with AI agent, and in a few weeks later they are adopting a completely new workflow. So change has quietly become the part of their daily job description. How should leaders rethink? You already, I think, given a hint. How should leaders rethink their approach to managing change when change itself become constant?
Absolutely. And today, if you see the way leaders operate, or the way, and I'm not blaming anyone because we are all party to that, and it's how the things are expected from the leaders also, is that leaders believe that if you can start an initiative, you get brownie point out of it.
Correct.
And we have all seen in our journeys that leaders start an initiative very well, 2 years down the lane, that is not done, value is not realized, people jump into another initiative because as a leader, you have to show
Pivot. Yeah.
your executive board that I've taken this initiative.
Correct.
And that's the first point of failure because
Right.
we have to become more value driven. We have been talking about value for last 20 years, I think, from the we have started doing agile, we are using that word, but still we are struggling to do that because the fundamental point is that like initiative is secondary.
Right.
Focus on the value because if you focus on the value, then it's easier for people to also realize that what change they are going to do. So leaders have to first transform to a level where obviously there has to be a balance of what the executive board is expecting from the leaders and how leaders can match up to that. So education needed in every layer of the organization, but it's very fundamental that we appreciate and acknowledge the value coming out of a transformation or a change rather than from an initiative part, because the moment you focus on initiative, the pressure becomes that how do I quickly start, how do I quickly end, how do I quickly jump onto another one. We use a framework called ADKAR at CAR. And the framework which is the base of any transformation is basically it starts with awareness.
Mm-hmm.
The awareness is your first point. Then you have to create the desire because that's the what's in it for me.
Mm-hmm.
These two parts are entirely dependent on the leaders because the leaders need to really explain to everyone part of it, and obviously this explaining what's in it for me is different at different level because if you and I are CXOs, our what's in it for me is that how I can show revenue increase or profitability increase to my board.
Correct.
The mid managers, for them, what's in it for me is like how do I keep my team engaged, how do I keep my team happy, and end of the day get the best product delivery out of them.
Right.
And then a group of people who have joined in the last 5 years or joining now, for them, revenue doesn't matter, profitability doesn't matter. They are really worried about what kind of work I'm getting. Am I getting career growth? Am I getting the right thing? So leaders, when they are doing this A and D part, awareness and the desire part, that needs to answer all of these questions. Everyone needs to be party to it. Everybody needs to be really confided into the larger purpose of the goal. And that cannot happen if you show this just as an initiative. Say, for a simple example, is like in all large companies, I have seen a S4 HANA migration happening.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone says that S4 HANA migration happening, this doesn't land to anyone because everybody sees this just as an initiative.
Correct.
And everybody's like, how do I care? But very few leaders actually have gone back to people and explained that why S4 HANA is going to give you larger benefits.
True.
how it's going to make your life better, how it's going to make companies cost much lesser over a period of time, how it will give you new roles in future which you can take up, which you are not being able to do it in a non-cloud environment. So these are the typical cases where like we make the initiative, but we do not focus on the value. And that's where leaders have a very large role to play in the future, because the change is so continuous. If you just talk about the initiative, it will not land with the people.
Right. And that reminds me that very interesting video from Simon Sinek, right? That start with why, right? Everyone talks about what, everyone talks about how, but very few, right, gives that clarity of purpose, right? Start
Yes.
with why, right? And when that is clear, then, right, the magic happens. Very good. Okay. So let's come back to a little bit of stats. Industry report consistently show that while AI investments continue to grow, many organizations struggle to translate these investment into measurable business outcome, the value. Interestingly, the conversation has shifted from can AI work to why are not people using it?
Yeah.
Now, I am seeing in my organizations, I'm sure like that same story is happening here and there. How many AI, okay, we have bought so many AI license, we have bought so many GitHub Copilot license. They are not seeing what is the value coming out of it. But the primary measure they're targeting, okay, how many GitHub Copilot license are in active state? How many of these are people using it on a daily basis? How many of these license are never used? But people are not measuring what value, what productivity increase it is resulting into. So it's a mess, right? So it is again, as you rightly said, Ronan, it is becoming an initiative, but not a value driver. So it suggests that the biggest challenge may no longer be the technology, but everything around it. We have all seen organizations proudly announce we have implemented AI, but 6 months later, employees have quietly gone back to Excel emails or their old way of working. Even if I'm, let's say, building an AI agent and telling, okay, how the budget can be forecasted, but when my leader is not around, I will again go back to my Excel and trying to do my pivot chart, everything, and that is the thing. So the technology was delivered, but the behavior never changed. So, in your experience, what are the biggest organizational and cultural barriers preventing successful AI adoption?
Great point, because yes, adoption is where the actual game starts. Again, a simple example from my experience is that there was a time in which we started developing an automated invoice processing system. So in every company, especially in the large companies, the accounts payable team processes humongous number of invoices every day because they have so many vendors, there are so many materials exchanged, so many sales happening. So that's a huge amount of human effort, and definitely every company is trying to kind of do automation of that process using machine learning, RPA, OCR, combining of all of these things. We started that initiative. There was huge sponsorship for that because people really calculated a nice value outcome out of it. 1.5 year down the line, our CFO came back saying that I'm not seeing a single penny savings from this entire investment.
Exactly.
Either my
Yep.
headcount has gone down,
Correct.
nor my customers are happy, nor the processing is taking place in lesser amount of time. And what's going on? And then we realized something is wrong. So we kind of brought in some of the people. We brought our change management team also in that organization. And when we sat together with the people and started talking about, we found out there are three fundamental things. Number one is the trust.
Right.
So people couldn't trust the new system because if somebody is, and in most of the large organizations, people actually spend their entire career there. So when that person is saying that for the last 20 years I do this job, that person still do not trust that system.
Correct.
That person is more confident in the way he or she has been doing it.
Hmm.
The second point, definitely what AI has done a miracle, is to create a huge job loss fear.
True.
Majority of these people say that, oh my God, if I start making this tool successful, I will lose the job
And negative narratives spread much faster.
much faster. And then the third point, what happened is that like most of the leaders actually treated these as a technology platform change.
Correct.
whatever the communication happened to the accounts payable team, that was all linked to is like, oh, you will get a very fancy platform. You have to just click in a green button and then all those things will be done. But nobody really explained to them that what's going to happen end of the day is you will free up yourself for doing much better job, because who does
Right.
like invoice processing and data entry
Exactly.
manually?
Right.
Nobody explained to them that that is linked to the brand value change for that organization, because now it takes 90 days to 120 days to release a payment which can be released in 10 days. So end of the day, your vendors are much happier entity. And these are the three fundamental things, as I said, just to repeat, is like number one, people's trust on the existing ways of working, people's fear about job loss, and people not able to see exactly why I am doing this are the biggest hindrances. And with AI, the cycles are faster. So
Hmm.
the moment you are delayed by even few weeks, you have already lost a good amount of time to do the adoption in the right way. And without adoption, any new platform, any new transformation, any new change is absolutely valueless. And people will comfortably go back to their own ways of working. All of us want to do it. All of us love to do it. And that's why, as you rightly said, McKinsey says that like 70% of the transformation initiatives are not yielding value because adoption is not happening.
Agree. Now, it's a very interesting relation, like as you stopped with the value, right? I'm going to start with the value. There is a saying in the transformation that output is not outcome. And there is an equation as well
Yeah.
that output plus value gives you the outcome. So deploying an AI solution is an output, but the real business value comes when people trust it, use it consistently, and they change the way they work because of it. And that's where the mini transformation programs quietly struggle. Now, I would like to give a very real example happening in my organizations. We have an, again, quote unquote initiative, right, where we are generating a lot of AI POCs, and we proudly, right, present those POCs when the customer visit happens. And I attended naturally, right, some of them. But one common question people all the clients always ask, how many of these? Oh, that's great. Like you have got thousands of AI agent repository. Brilliant. Can you please tell me how many of you have used it for your own organization benefit and what tangible value you have received out of it? Pin drop silence. And there is an old saying in the technology, just because you built it does not mean people are going to use it. Like you said, McKinsey, right? There are many other reports available where people are saying 52%, I'm just, the numbers may vary, 52% of the software which is produced every year are never used by the customer. 25% additional software which are built every year are rarely used by the customer. So think about it. 77% of the software which is built every year are either never used by the customer or rarely used by the customer. So where is the value? We have all downloaded apps that looks exciting, impressive, but never become part of our daily lives. What is the point? Organizations sometimes make some mistakes with AI, celebrating implementation instead of asking whether the people have actually changed the way they used to work or the way they are going to work. So, what metrics should leader focus on to determine whether on an AI transformation has truly been successful, Ronan?
Yes. And this is a huge struggle because leaders or people are very comfortable in using the metrics which make them look good, right? And again, it's a very natural tendency because your performance, your promotion, everything is linked to those things. So it's very convenient to kind of show that, yes, I have purchased X number of Copilot licenses and all X% is heavily used.
True.
And as you said, and we all agree, that that's absolutely useless metrics.
Vanity metrics.
These are nothing. But end of the day, that leaders get praised for that, saying that, wow. And that leader's leader goes to a conference and talks about saying that my company is now 100% AI enabled because everybody uses Copilot license. If you ask me honestly, I want to give the whole dimension very different, because a successful adoption or successful transformation should be measured first by talking to the end users.
Absolutely.
You should sit with the end users to see that how much benefit you are getting, because that's the learning. What I'm referring to my previous example of the automated invoice
Mm-hmm.
processing. When you go back to the vendor is saying that, oh, were you making any changes? I had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me after 1.5 years, but I didn't see any value. So the whole initiative is zero, basically. It's zero.
Correct.
Whatever else metrics you can show that yes, our throughput rate is high, our OCR is processing 95% successfully, blah, blah. All these reports are technical reports, but actually it's useless. So the first and foremost, what should be measured is the end user's happiness quotient,
True.
closely followed by employee satisfaction, employee happiness by using that tool. Because you're not asking the questions to the people, those who are responsible or not responsible, those who for whom you have made that transformation. You have to go back to your employees to say that, are you seeing values? Are you using it? If you're not using it, why? Why you're not using it? So adoption's real value will come when we'll start measuring at the end. It's like, are the end users getting value out of it? Are the employees really getting benefited? Are they saying that, yes, I am able to free up my time and I can now take up different things which I was aspiring to do for a long time, and now I have time? And then definitely the key metrics which goes on, like the depth of usage, reversion rate to the old process, how many people going back to the old processes, actual business delivery, how much. So, because most of the AI initiatives, if you see today, either it's linked to your bottom line or it's linked to your top line.
Correct.
And majority are linked to your bottom line because it's very easy to implement AI and reduce your operation cost.
True.
And most of the mid or large size companies are struggling with their operation cost getting higher. So implementing some AI initiatives to reduce your burden on the bottom line is the easiest one. But the only problem with that is that the benefit is limited when you focus only on the bottom line, because bottom line has a kind of a cap of 7x, 10x max benefit, what you can get out of your benefit. And this is empirical number. So actual benefit will be lesser than that because you will have a lot of offset numbers, overheads, everything inside that. When it's turned towards top line, then the actual benefit starts, because you suddenly launch a product. You suddenly, because you are closely now connected to your users, so you get to see that yes, this is what's happening, and you are making 10 vendors happy. They are going and telling another 100 vendors that work with this company because they are very efficient. They are giving tremendous thing. Then you see the larger benefit to that. So these are definitely very key metrics from the business side to really understand that what actual value I'm contributing to my balance sheet.
True.
But repeating again where I started, my personal take is that please start your measurement with end users, find out how happy they are, how happy are your employees who are using it.
Excellent. Now let's look into the other part of it. Now, when organizations face uncertainty, the employees don't simply listen to what leaders say. They closely watch what leaders do. If the executives are not aligned, if the priorities keep changing, or if the leaders are not using AI themselves, employees notice. Now, let me give you a story back from my IBM experience. Now, before jumping into the AI transformation, I used to be a kind of enterprise agile coach. And I started my agile journey, right, way back in 2008, 9 time, when I was fortunate to, right, start working with IBM, right, on the the agile journey. Now, from 2009 to 2014, it was more of a, right, team-driven agility. Now, that point in time, people were thinking, okay, others, everyone is following agile. We should also be, right, following agile. It is only the team coach is telling or scrum master is telling to follow certain things, right? People are doing it. But the miracle happened in 2014 when we hired a new CIO from Suncorp. His name was Jeff Smith, and he transformed the entire CIO organizations of IBM. Why that was successful and not the previous one? Because now the people are seeing my CIO is continuously telling of agile words. It's not only my scrum master. All the layers underneath is are talking agile, so they are practicing agile. All those agile things are being practiced at every layer, so people get motivated out of it. So that's the reason I said that The employees are also watching the leaders. Not only they are only hearing them, they also silently, are their behaviors changing? Are they really meaning what? Are they really practicing what they are preaching? The leadership credibility often becomes the strongest predictor of whether the transformation gains the momentum or loses the trust. The trust often spreads or disappears from the top down. Now, you have been part of many transformation initiatives and you have dealt with many leadership, Ranan. You have often emphasized that the AI transformation is more of a leadership challenge than a technological challenge. So, what specific behaviors or actions distinguish leaders who successfully drive AI enabled change from those who struggle?
Very, very critical point. And I start with a particular comment saying that the leader's ego of I know everything is big time hurt in today's world.
Correct.
Any change comes, any new drive comes, leaders always say that I know everything, it's for my rest of the employees. And this is for the first time where leaders also kind of have to accept the fact that actually I don't know. Because I also got to know about this term. And even if you fake, it will not last for long because it becomes very evident. Because the whole thing
Correct.
came into limelight in the last 2 years. And there was a very handful of people, those who are actually doing hardcore AI or the earlier forms of artificial intelligence. And today the mandate is like it's not only a handful of people, it's everyone who has to switch to that. So the first and foremost character of a leader today is to become vulnerable
True.
and accept the fact that, yes, I also don't know. A good leader will be someone who will sit in the same training along with his or her team and not saying that it's not for me. Train the rest of the people, make the rest of the people kind of learn about that. I'll manage, I'm the leader. In today's world, a true leader has to show that I am as invested as you are. I'm putting the same amount of effort as you are because we are in the same boat.
Correct.
Maybe unless you are a Elon Musk of the world, that's a different case, but that's exceptional outlier. And similar line to the examples what I've given from IBM, so nice. If we look back the 1983 World Cup team story, our own Indian cricket team story, Kapil Dev was the only leader who was telling that we have not come here for vacation, we are going to win this cup.
Correct.
And he meant to be that, and he never said that like I am the captain, I don't care about rest of the team, if you guys can play it's okay, otherwise also I'm happy, nobody has an expectation. He first set a vision that this with this team I'll win the World Cup, and then he propagated that with the team. When needed, he went in the front line to perform. And that's what the characteristic of the leader which are required in today's world, where people will appreciate that yes, that person is a leader because he is or he or she showing the same kind of uneasiness as we have. And the biggest thing is for a leader today is that obviously it's difficult for the leader also to identify the start and end, as we talked about earlier also. Start may be fine, end is unknown because we keep doing things. Some of the things work, some of the things not work. Some of the things we are still not sure because those are not ready, because we are hearing all these stories of like tokens being kind of consumed within 4 to 5 years, and they
Right.
are paying out your whole year's investment. So obviously not to blame the leader, because leaders is also learning through that journey. So they need support, they need also the reinforcement along with that. But again, going back to my old framework of ADKAR, which starts with awareness, desire. So in the early phases, we did the awareness and desire. Now the K and A is the knowledge and ability,
Hmm.
because this knowledge and ability is very, very important to sustain this entire journey, because that's the way we have to kind of continuously support the changes which are coming. And for a leader today, I think more than ever, that learning mindset of
Right.
him or herself and then putting that into the organization is the biggest thing, because people have to accept the fact that change is going to be part of our life.
True.
Change, we have no option to kind of just focus on the change fatigue kind of a thing, because it's like if if you have a problem, you have to do blood test every month. You are a patient of diabetes. Every month you have to, you like it or not, you have to do the blood test.
True.
And the good part of that blood test is that you don't like that prick, but it's changed the dynamics that you are doing good or bad. And then continuously you are changing. Yeah, next 2 months I'll not touch a sweet. It's okay, right? So it has to be in your DNA now. It's not
Absolutely.
like it's happening once and you can rest in peace. So leaders have a big role to become vulnerable, to sit with the people, say that I'm also learning, I need support, and this is the vision what we are going towards.
Wonderful. Now, we learned about the how the leaders should change. Now, whenever a disruptive technology arrives, the first conversation is really about the algorithm. It's about people. Employees wonder whether they'll need the new skill, whether their work will change, whether they'll still have a meaningful role. Like I think in your first or second answer, you already talked about why people do not want to, because what is in it for me? That's a very, very common anxiety and uncertainty. And at the same time, a curiosity, right, comes to their mind. Now, employees wonder they'll, right, need a, right, as I said, new skill. Now, the organizations that acknowledge these concerns openly tend to build trust much faster than those that simply communicate the benefits of AI and not communicating. Like again, as you rightly said, that it is creating a little bit of fear factor, but it is also not talking about the benefit. They are just living by saying that, okay, AI is not going to take away your job, but yes, people who are not adopting AI are going to lose their job. Again, that is creating an right fear factor, quote unquote. Now, if you ask your employees about AI, you often hear two complete different emotions in the same sentence. I'm excited about what I can do, but I'm also worried about what it means for my role. That mix of curiosity and the concern is probably one of the defining characteristics of the today's workforce. How can leaders communicate transparently and build trust while still encouraging innovation and experimentation?
Yes, again, a very, very important and vital point. And while we focus on transparency a lot, which is definitely needed, but at the same time, sometimes transparency doesn't help unless it's backed by real information. On a lighter note, is like if you are saying that I'm going to kill you, but I care for you, it doesn't have any meaning for the person on the other side, right? Because yes, you are showing empathy, you're showing care, but the message is so strong or the outcome is so strong, it overrides everything else. So while transparency is the key, but the thing is that you are transparent for what? If
Right,
you're killing someone, don't go inform and show care because it doesn't matter, right? So the key change in the messaging has to be, and with honesty, is that the whole initiative is not to replace someone by AI, but empower someone by AI.
right.
And that messaging is I'm seeing very rarely done.
Hmm.
Because people think, yeah, others will take care of it or others will understand that. No, others will not understand because there is an underlying fear. Because every other day we hear a news that some company is laying off, and
Correct.
every company is tagging that to AI, and immediately their stock price is going up. So it's a fancy trend
Mm.
now going on, and it's going to continue also. So unless that's also your intent, you be honest also. Is that like, yes, my intent is to reduce workforce by this much number to improve my profitability to this, but at the same time, those who are not part to that, those who are going to continue the journey with us, then this is the enablement what we want to do so that like your life do not become miserable. Because there are
Correct.
organizations where after people uh, are asked to go, the rest of the people's life have become miserable because there is no replacement mechanism has happened and their workload has increased.
Correct.
So that definitely is going to be suicidal. So if you are really planning something, make it very clear to people is that the intent is not being replaced by AI, but how I enable with AI, and what are the options. The second thing is that in today's world, I think one size fits all even doesn't work within an organization. Forget about multiple organizations. Within an organization also, every function needs different things.
True.
Every group needs different things. Every role requires different things. So having a hyper personalized change journey or upskilling journey for people is very, very important. And that needs to be well planned in the beginning. That should be well communicated to people because people are clueless. You are talking about upskilling. What I'll do? because I have no clue which area the job will be more tomorrow. So I learned something, and down the line, 1 year, I find that there is no job in that role, basically.
Excellent. Yep, absolutely.
So how do you structure it? And that's the responsibility of the leadership. Is like, how do I create that? How do I foresee that what's going to happen in 1 year, 2 year, 5 years down the lane? How I'm going to shape it? And to shape it, I need to reduce here, I need to increase here. Show that transparently to your people. Because that's where the trust will happen. People are not afraid of bad news.
Correct.
People know that bad news will come in life somewhere or the other. But people don't like when there is ambiguity or there is lie. People need honesty, but backed by real information and data.
Excellent. Great. Now, here is an interesting twist. For years, the leaders have used a dashboard to understand the business performance after something happened. It's more about a reactive thing.
Mhm.
Perhaps one of the biggest irony of this AI era is that we are beginning to use AI not just to transform our business, but to transform how we manage the transformation itself. So AI now gives us the possibility of predicting what is likely to happen before the problem becomes visible. And that reminds me again a very, very famous quote from, though not exactly related, but something similar to that, like Steve Jobs predicted long back. He told, do you know what is customer centricity? He said, customer centricity is something when you understand the customer problem before they anticipate and you provide them the solution before they report to you, right? So AI now gives us the possibility of predicting what is likely to happen before the problems become visible, whether that's identifying resistance, skill gaps, or declining adoption. Change management could become far more proactive than reactive. So, how do you see AI helping organizations predict resistance, personalize communication, and proactively support employee adoption? Any example?
Again, once again, very, very, very vital point. And yeah, to give the example, like when Henry Ford was asked that how did he come up with a car, he said that if I would have gone and asked people, people would have said, "Give me a faster horse." Right? So visualizing something transitionally different is very difficult for people. And what is very, very, very key in today's world, when we are talking about the prediction and all this, we have to understand there is a huge advantage of data being unified, data being centralized, data being captured into the system, which is giving us a huge power. Before I go to the change management part, I'll give another example is like when you enter a particular petrol pump, you go to a petrol pump, you first fuel your car, and then maybe you walk up, grab a cup of coffee, and then maybe you buy a car perfume. So as a customer, it's a single journey. You do this three. I know like in India, we don't do that much. We just refuel and go out. But overall in the world, that happens. And maybe while you are on a highway for a long drive, you might be doing that
Correct.
also.
Yeah.
So as a customer, it's a single journey. For the company, it's three different business
Hmm.
because fuel is a business, food is a business, and non-food, non-fuel retail is another business. If you do not have the proper insight, the company is thinking today I have added three customers
Correct.
because one person has bought oil, one person has bought coffee, one person has bought a car perfume. But in reality, it's the same person. And with the power of data, in most of the organizations, in most other places, yes, a lot of work is still to be done. But overall, there is a better accessibility to this information.
True.
And through that, I can predict that, yes, that's the same person. It's not three people. And if that person is unhappy, then don't send your loyalty guys to sell more.
Hmm.
First, solve the problem and then only send. Otherwise, they will get a good amount of bashing from the customer. Similarly, when it comes to the change management, today change management should be driven by data. Because so far, if you see, people used to perceive change management as communication and training.
Right.
But these are very small part compared to what the exact change management can do, because change management should start from analyzing your readiness for a change. Because if you're really planning for a change, how ready is your organization? How ready is your leaders? How ready are your employees? What is the change culture in the company? Because some of the companies change very fast compared to others. Some of the industries change faster compared to others. And then during the journey, you have to really understand and predict where the resistance is coming from. where the resistance might come from, because you, from your experience, you might feel that, that group will create the maximum number of problems. Say, I was giving you example of that use cases, right? Because
Correct.
the way user acceptance testing happening today has transformed the change. And initially we thought that the pushback will come mainly from the testers who will do that because for them it's different. But in reality, people are finding it's not the testers, actually it's the developers who are creating more hindrance, because they're saying that if you don't give me a fixed outcome, how do I develop something?
Correct.
Right? So predicting that resistance beforehand rather than investing time on a different group, which actually is not your problem, and then finally predicting that where the journey is coming, measuring the right information, measuring the right value, showcasing it, that's the new trend of change. And these are all tool based now. These are all, communication will be part of it, training, upskilling will be part of it, but that's a very secondary part of it. It's very, very important that with the tools available, with the insights available from AI usage, you take the whole demographic of the company, and there are various different tools. Say, like, till a time we used to do psychometric
Mm,
analysis of employees to really find out, and now people are saying that neuroscience is better.
correct.
Use neuroscience based metrics, because that gives a better dimension of your how your brain functioning, not the only the emotion part. So all these aspects are empowering change management. So nobody engages a change management today to prepare a slide that you can give it to Claude and it will
Correct.
make a much better slide within half an hour. So people are asking change managers that, can you give me all these insights? And that's, AI is giving a huge amount of insight to the change managers, to the leaders, to the organization, that where we should invest our time and energy during a change.
Wonderful. Now, that brings us to the last question before we go to the rapid fire round. If we look back over the last 5 years, few would have predicted how quickly AI would become part of our daily work, from drafting emails, generating code, to summarizing meetings and supporting decision making. The lesson is clear. The pace of change will only accelerate. There is no indication that we'll go back to the previous, right, decelerating phase or something. In that world, the real competitive advantage may not be having the most advanced AI, but building an organization that can learn, adopt, and evolve faster than everyone else, because the more acceleration is going to come than what we are facing today. So, as we look 3 years to 5 years into the future, what do you believe will define a successful organizations in terms of change capability? And what advice would you like to give to the leaders who want to become or build rather AI ready, change resilient and organizations today?
Fantastic. Definitely the organization which will remain relevant in 5 years won't be the ones who adopted AI first, because AI first is done, is the easiest part.
Correct.
The organizations which will be the most successful will be the one who got the fastest at helping people adapt, repeatedly change the course correction, repeatedly do the change correction, and building the trust on the employees. We usually use a word constant change, and I want to
Right.
kind of make a little point here, is that when we studied physics, constant was termed as something which doesn't change, right? So don't literally take constant change as something which is like you do not need to change. Rather, maybe it's easier for people to understand that it should be a continuous change.
Correct.
So continuous change is going to be the mantra. Change fatigue is a term what we talked about, what we really discussed, and it's a very valid point. But as I gave the example of the blood test, if you have a disease, it's something, even if we do not like, it will be part of our life, and the faster we accept that fact, it's better for us. Because if we always think that, oh my god, another change is coming, then it's a more stress than help. And
Correct.
obviously it's a responsibility of everyone to create that safe environment where people can experiment, fail, do the change correction. And it has not changed because of AI. That was always there. We worked in, we talked about that in during agile transformation. We talked about that during product transformation. So these are the basic characteristics of what people have to do. But on top of that, what is the need is like how closely I'm watching the situation and how fast I'm taking a decision to kind of empower people to kind of change it, so that I'm helping people to adopt. So entire success lies on adoption. The organizations who can adopt faster and by the meaning of adapting themselves continuously will be the champions. And a lot
Absolutely.
responsibility remains on the leaders to create that environment, create that path for people, create that clarity for the people, creating that trust that I'm not let you be alone. It's a journey all of us are in. I'm as vulnerable as you guys are. We'll find out the ways, but we have to reach the goal.
Absolutely. No, I really love the word, like you said. Change aversion could lead to more stress than change adoption. Brilliant. Okay, so let's move to the little bit fun element, a rapid fire round. One word that best describes now organizations are experiencing change today.
Disruption,
Change fatigue or change resistance? Which one is a bigger challenge today?
change resistance,
AI transformation, technology challenge or a people challenge?
always people challenge.
What's that one thing leaders should stop doing when introducing AI?
Yeah, don't use it as an initiative. Focus on the value.
Right. What's that one thing leaders should start doing immediately?
First, train yourself.
Wonderful. Make yourself vulnerable.
Yes.
Yeah. Accept rather, right? Accept that you are
Step.
also
Yes.
vulnerable and start training yourself. Brilliant. If you could change one thing about traditional change management, what would that be?
Maybe remove the word change management itself and bring in the word transformation because
Ex-
transformation gives a more continuous feeling than change.
Excellent. What's more important for AI adoption? Training, trust, or leadership?
This is tricky because all three are very closely linked and all are important. But if you put a gun on my head, I would say leadership.
One sign that tells you an AI transformation is actually being adopted, not just deployed.
Going back to my old thing, go and talk to your customers. If they are
Excellent.
seeing the value, your AI is successful.
Can AI replace change managers someday, or will it make them even more important?
The change managers who love doing PPTs, they will be changed for sure. But the change manager who want to really work with people, depend on data, are more embedded on the ground with the team. I think they will be rather more empowered by AI and well will be delivering more values.
Brilliant. The last one. Complete this sentence. In the AI era, the organizations that will thrive are the ones that.
Will take people along.
Wow. Now, with this, right, I'll rather stop. And thanks so much, Ranon, for the wonderful insights that you have shared for the last 50 minutes or so. Now, I would open it up for the people, right, who are listening. Any questions from anyone? I see already something right in the chat, but not sure whether those are questions or not. Yeah, I think those are some of the thoughts, right? Any questions from anyone?
If nobody has any, I can start maybe.
Of course.
Okay, so it was a wonderful discussion, Ronan. Thank you for all the insights. One question, I mean, it is kind of a observation also, you can say that, especially for, I mean, as you said, I mean, it is not the same, not only for different organizations, even within the organization, it is not the same for every department or every team or whatever it is. But there are some organizations where there are certain restrictions for transparency. So, how do they deal with change? Because, as you said, communication definitely is uh, an important piece. But then, since there are restrictions, there are a lot of NDAs that the leaders need to sign. They are not allowed to talk about what is going to happen. So, in such organizations, how do the leaders take this change management stuff to their
Thank you, Shubhra. I think that's a typical problem we have in mostly all the large organizations in the restricted industries. And the thing is like Definitely, there is a restriction NDA signed that you cannot give the entire information, especially if it is related to people change. In Europe and in the US, they have very strict labor laws that you cannot really go out and talk about that until there is a timeline or something like that. So that's definitely a very key part, which obviously, first of all, hinders the ideal way of doing the change management. But at the same time, what I've seen some organizations do better than the others is still go ahead and on the ground starts readying people. So while, say, for example, you have a change that you want to shut down a particular unit, for some reason that unit might not be giving you the revenue desired and all these things, you want to shut down, and as a result of that, X number of people either will be laid off or they will be repurposed into some other groups. And the information what you cannot go and give publicly or to the people is that I'm going to shut down this department or I'm going to lay off people. You cannot do that. But what you can do is, like, in the background, prepare your backup plan, that can you really repurpose this X number of people internally? Because when the window opens and you can communicate, and if you can show that this is my plan to reabsorb you, you are removing the fear then and there. But if you do not do that and you say that let that happen and then I'll see, then it's too late. Number two is that if you cannot create that opportunity, you might know that you are not able to create that opportunity. How do you ensure that you talk to your HR, you talk to your transformation teams, and you come up with a communication plan which at least let people know that there are changes which are required in the organization for the larger cause? You don't need to give that particular instance what's changing, but that will definitely make people understand that there is a change coming. Yes, it creates uneasiness. Uneasiness will be there the moment you break up bad news. That we cannot take off. But how courageous as a leader I am to go and say that something is happening. There will be a timeline in which we'll do the communication, but this is for the larger benefit because our organization is struggling to earn or be in line with the competitors. So we have to do something so that like we go up. So at least that gives a preparedness, because most of the times I see, like, in some of the organization, people, leaders are like, okay, there's an embargo, I cannot announce, so my hands are tied, I'll not do anything. And then by the time you announce, you are not ready, you are not giving any option to people. It's just like, I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was really laughing when you said that you're not supposed to tell that people when you're going to kill them. So yeah, I mean, I've seen that happening. That that is the downside of being too transparent as well.
Yeah.
Is sometimes leaders talk about a lot, and then people by nature they hear the message, but they take the one they wanted to listen. So even though the message had the actual meaning that the leaders wanted to communicate, but the people hearing, they only got that part that they wanted to hear, listen or wanted to hear, and that creates a lot of confusion.
Absolutely.
So yes, and to add on to that, I had one more question on this. Like, as you said on the vulnerability part, so I know this that as a leader, being vulnerable makes you more trustable. But then somewhere down the line, there's a mindset somewhere that if I show vulnerability, I will be marked as a weak leader. So how do leaders address that? I know that is a mindset problem. That is not the actual case. But then I've seen a lot of leaders, they are afraid to show vulnerability because they think that that will be a sign of weakness for them.
Fair point, fair point. But that's where the character of a leader comes in, right? Because by showing vulnerability, if you start behaving that I am broken, I am like, I'm going to collapse, then definitely you are not the best leader to work with.
Yes.
I myself will not have trust on you. But being a leader, you have to show that, yes, I'm vulnerable, I'm learning, I'm going to win it. I'm going to try it first before I let you guys do it. It's like I'll learn, I'll go first, I'll try that, and then I'll let you guys do it. So your character or our character as a leader is the most important part when we are showing vulnerability. So vulnerability should be seen as a strength, not as a weakness. The moment it's seen as a weakness, then you are not a great leader. You're gone. So it's very, very important. How do you show that vulnerability? And you show that vulnerability because you want to kind of let them know is that like, yes, some of the things I also don't know. It's human. I'm not going
Exactly.
to fake it. But at the same time, if your character is that like, oh my God, I don't know what will happen because I don't know, and this is a completely new area, I might not be able to kind of pass through that, then obviously you are not the best leader.
Exactly. Because I've seen both ways. Like there are some people who really don't know,
Yeah,
but they're afraid to say that they don't know because of the repercussions that is going to follow, which may not be following actually, because that is all in their mindset. So yes, I mean it is very important to say I don't know when I really don't, and in a positive way.
exactly. And you don't need to be apologetic for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other
Okay.
question? Okay, great. So in that case, again, thanks so much. So as we come to the end of this conversation, one thing is very clear. AI may be changing the technology, but the real transformation is happening with the people. We have moved a long way, right, from a world where the changes was something organizations planned for to a world where change is something organization must continuously embrace. And as he rightly mentioned, it's no more going to be a change management, rather transformation, which is continuously happening. And perhaps the biggest lesson is that the future won't belong to the organizations that change the fastest. It will belong to those that learn, adapt, and evolve the fastest. So, Ranon, thank you so much for sharing your experience, perspective, and practical insight with us today. And to everyone joining us, perhaps the next time an app changes its interface, instead of looking for the old version, we might pause and ask, what could the new version teach me? Keep that curiosity burning in your mind. Thank you, everyone. Keep learning, keep adapting, and keep embracing the change. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Shubho, and thanks AI Agile Synergy as well. Thank you so much.